So here's your average Metrolink station, and the width of this platform is about 3 meters. 3 meters for the width of the platform is actually quite common across the network. Now, some stops have island platforms like this, which is one platform between two tracks, but for this video, we'll just talk about these ones with side platforms. Now, some tram stops that are expected to be busier during events will usually have wider platforms like this, about 6 meters. But Stretford, which isn't near to any really major venue or transport interchange, for some reason has one normal platform and one very spacious platform, which is about 11 meters wide at the widest point. There are other much busier stations that are much more cramped than this, but here's why the current layout wasn't intentional. If you know a bit about the Metrolink's history, you'll know that the Altrincham line used to run trains up until the end of 1991. But we need to go way back to 1849 when Stretford was opened as a railway station. It had only 2 platforms and 2 tracks, until in 1904, the line between Trafford Bar and Sale was widened to 4 tracks, which may have required the west platform at Stretford to have a new face on the opposite side, which may have doubled its width. But there's always a chance that the platform was built this way and has always been this way since Stretford opened. The line was cut back down to 2 tracks in 1963. The middle platform, which acted as an island platform because it served 2 tracks on either side, was kept, and everything west of it was removed. In fact, underneath what used to be the station building, you can still see where the 2 extra tracks would have passed under. So where these steps are going over where trains used to run about 60 years ago. Hold on, why does that not have a capital letter? Edge Lane. Interesting. There were 4 tracks running between Trafford Bar and Sale. One sign of this is that there's extra arches or just extra space underneath some of the bridges that you find along the Altrincham line's route. On that bridge there's a space that is about the same size that an extra 2 tracks would have taken up back in the 1900s, and this bridge hasn't been modified since. Oh, whoa. Oh, that tree is closer than I thought it was. What? The tram just disappeared. There's another railway bridge. And there's something else I want to say about the gantries still standing on the Altrincham line. They go over the 2 Metrolink tracks and where the 2 other train tracks would have been. Now you can see the gantries that go over the space of 4 tracks past Sale, where the 4-track section ended, but that's because there were sidings between Sale and Brooklands. Now the Altrincham line, what it was called back then, which was the Manchester South Junction and Altrincham Railway, ran the last train on Christmas Eve of 1991, I believe, and only about 6 months later would the line actually open to Metrolink. And this is weird because the Oldman Rochdale line on the other side of Manchester took about 2.5 years to begin operation. But the reason that the conversion only took 6 months, there we go, there's a tram. The reason the conversion of this line only took about 6 months is because they reused the infrastructure for most of the station. Like, you can see that these platforms have a much different design to the other Metrolink platforms that you see on the system. So yeah, basically what they did in 1992 was, instead of rebuilding the entire station, instead of rebuilding the platforms, they just kept the actual infrastructure that that National Rail used, or what it was called back then. What was it called? National Rail? I don't know. And they just refurbished the platforms a little, and so that's why the conversion didn't take as long as the other lines do nowadays. Some of the abandoned platform was actually used to make a walkway to the car park over there. Also, the Metrolink is unusual in another way, that the height of the platforms is 90 centimetres, because that was the height of British rail platforms. But for most tram systems around the world, they're pretty low to the ground, maybe about 30 centimetres off the ground. The main reason for this being... Oh my goodness. That hasn't been changed in a while. The old GMPTE logo. Wow, okay. Anyway, what was I saying? Low-floor trams were actually quite a new idea in the 90s. I think the first system to use low platforms began operation in 1990, which was only 2 years before the Metrolink, when it was well into the planning stage. So you can guess why they kept these instead. Oh, and I have some clips from other tram systems that I visited in Sheffield and Nottingham, but they opened later. I think Sheffield opened in 1994 and Nottingham opened in 2004. I think that's right. So they have low floor platforms, but the Metrolink doesn't, because it opened in 1992. And I recorded those clips ages ago, and I can finally use them for something. And if they didn't do that to save time and money, then the conversion probably would have been way more expensive, and also it would have taken maybe an extra 2 or 3 years. Now, as with most of the converted railway stations across the network, you can still see the abandoned platforms along here, because the Metrolink platforms are shorter. From there, it extends maybe about 100 metres. That's an estimate. If I was accurate, I will let you know. And I was also able to figure out how long the platform is, because there are markings on the track in metres, very conveniently. So this platform is about 61 metres long, and 10 to 11 metres wide, depending on how you measure. And similarly, there are other stations that take up about the same amount of space. So I'm at Old Trafford now. It's literally one stop down, and I think it's 10 metres across, and you can probably guess why that is. Old Trafford Stadium, it's to manage crowds. And there's something else here that I want to mention, related to this space over here that a railway platform used to take up, but I think that's a topic for a different video. So that's it for now, but before you go, please consider checking out some of my other videos in this series. There will be a playlist coming up on screen in a few seconds, and I think you'll find those videos just as interesting. Subscribe if you like, and thanks for watching.